Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to plunge into complex information and pull out those hidden gems, the surprising facts you really need.
Exactly. Finding those aha moments.
And today we're looking at something that might sound, well, a bit obscure. The Stibium target market.
It does sound niche, yeah. But think of this as a shortcut, to understanding a pretty significant global market that's quietly growing.
Okay.
Our mission really is to pull out the key takeaways from this big report. It's called Global Stibium Target Market, Global Growth Projections 2021-2033. Comes from Cognitive Market Research.
Right, and stibium, just so everyone's on the same page, that's the scientific name for antimony, the element.
Mm-hmm.
But a stibium target,
Yeah.
that's different, right? It's not just the raw stuff.
No, exactly. It's usually a highly purified form. Think of it like a component used in specialized manufacturing, often for sputtering, to create super thin films.
Ah, okay. So for things like advanced electronics, optics, high-tech applications.
Precisely. It's a precision product, essential for some really cutting-edge industries, not just bulk material.
Got it. So what can people expect from this deep dive then?
Well, we'll break down the revenue numbers, the projections,
Yeah.
make them digestible. We'll look at regional trends, which are fascinating, and the KGR's compound annual growth rates.
Okay, and maybe just a quick reminder on CGR.
Sure. It basically smooths out the bumps. It gives you the average annual growth rate over a set period. So it shows sustained growth, not just, a single good year.
Perfect. So by the end, you'll have a solid handle on this often overlooked corner of global commerce.
That's the plan. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. So starting globally, the overall picture looks pretty strong for the Stibium target market. Back in 2021, sales revenue was already, nearly $2.4 billion?
Yeah, 2,367.63 million, so just about there. And it doesn't stop. The projection for 2025 is over $3 billion.
Okay.
And looking further out to 2033, they anticipate it hitting almost $5.3 billion, so $5,258 million.
Wow, that's quite a jump. What does that mean in terms of average growth?
Well, the overall global CAGR is calculated at 6.875%. So let's call it nearly 7%. That's solid, steady expansion over the whole period, almost doubling in value in just over a decade.
That sustained rate is really interesting. Does the report give reasons why?
It points to a few key things. Technological advances, for one.
Right.
Then increasing use in various industries, so more industrial applications, and also just expanding geographic reach, more places using it.
When you say technological advances, what sort of things spring to mind? Where is this becoming more critical?
That's a great point. The report doesn't list every single application, obviously, but technological advances suggests it's being designed into newer, higher performance stuff.
Okay.
Think about maybe next-gen semiconductors or advanced displays, maybe even specialized coatings, for medical tech or aerospace, things like that.
So it's not just more of the same, but perhaps new uses driving demand requiring this specific material.
Yeah, I think it's the sophistication, like you said, new technical industries or evolving ones needing exactly this kind of target material.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's zoom into the regions.
Yeah.
Because that global picture plays out differently everywhere, right? Asia Pacific seems to be the real powerhouse.
Oh, absolutely. The report says it dominates with the largest growth. Its value in 2021 was already huge, approaching $1 billion, $977.83 million specifically.
And a forecast.
Even stronger. By 2025, it's expected to cross $1.3 billion. And then by 2033, the projection is over $2.3 billion, $2,329 million.
Wow.
And that comes with a regional CGR of nearly 7.5%, so 7.494%, noticeably higher than the global average.
Right.
Really shows its lead.
Within Asia Pacific, China's the giant.
It definitely leads the pack. It goes from around $400 million in 2021, $397.977 million,
Okay.
up to nearly $980 million by 23. That's a CDR of about 7.75% strong.
But India looks even faster, proportionally. The report mentioned tremendous growth.
It did. India's figures are striking. Jumps from about $161 million in 2021 to over $407 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of over 8%, 8.044%.
That is impressive. And Southeast Asia.
Also on a rapid trajectory, as the report puts it, growing from just over $83 million to nearly $220 million by 2033. And look at this KGR, 8.384%, the highest in that specific breakdown, suggests a lot of new activity there.
So China's the biggest market, but India and SE Asia are growing even faster. What about other key players in APAC?
Well, there's Japan growing from $132 million to about $282 million. That's a 6.5% CAGR. South Korea, $68 million up to $142 million, just over 6.2% CAGR.
All right.
Then you've got Australia set to double from about $43.5 million to $88.5 million, a 6.8% CAGR. And Taiwan nearly doubling too, $44 million to $95.5 million with a 6.8% CAGR.
So it's really broad-based growth across the Asia-Pacific region, multiple engines firing.
Absolutely. Now let's hop over to North America, also seeing what the report calls robust expansion.
Okay, what are the numbers there?
The market was around $419 million in 2021, and it's expected to hit almost $950 million by 2033. 946.454 million to be precise.
And the growth rate?
A healthy CGR of just over 7%, 7.024%. So strong growth there too.
And drilling down within North America, the U.S.
The U.S. grows from about $283 million in 2021 to nearly $608 million by 2033. The CGR there is around 6.5%. Solid.
Okay, but Canada. The report mentioned robust growth, specifically for Canada, too.
Yes, Canada shows even faster growth proportionally. It more than doubles from $79 million to over $193 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of almost 7.7%.
Interesting. And Mexico?
Mexico is on an upward trajectory with impressive growth. That's the quote. It goes from about $56.5 million to nearly $146 million by 2033. And check out its CGR, 8.21%, the highest in North America.
So, similar pattern to APAC in a way. The largest market, the U.S., grows steadily, but Canada and especially Mexico show faster acceleration.
Exactly. It suggests maybe new manufacturing hubs or specialized applications picking up steam in those countries.
Fascinating. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic to Europe. How's the Stibium target market looking there?
Europe shows a steady ascent, expected to grow from over $582 million in 2021 to more than $1.2 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 6.3%, but slower than North America or APAC overall, but still very significant growth.
And major European countries.
Okay, let's break it down. The UK grows from nearly $95 million to over $182 million. CAGR about 5.5%.
Okay.
Germany, the largest in Europe, goes from just over $140 million to nearly $280 million. That's a 5.9% CAGR. France, around $71.6 million, up to $127.5 million, slower growth there, 4.8% CAGR. Italy, from about $48 million to nearly $89 million, a 5.1% CAGR. Russia, smaller market, almost $30 million, up to nearly $50 million. That's a 4.5% CAGR.
Yeah, Spain shows healthy growth from $43 million to nearly $96 million. That's a 6.8% CAGR. Quite good for the region.
And Denmark shows really significant growth percentage-wise, from nearly $31 million to almost $73 million. That's a strong CDR of nearly 7.5%. 7.473%.
So again, some smaller economies showing bigger percentage jumps.
It seems so. And there are others. Sweden from $28.5 million to nearly $55 million, 5.4% CAGR. Switzerland, $19 million to over $42.5 million. That's a decent 6.7% CAGR.
Oh.
Luxembourg is mentioned with modest growth, just under $10 million to nearly $16 million, about 3.6% CAGR.
Right.
But then look at the rest of Europe category. This lumps together the smaller markets. It grows hugely from nearly $66 million to over $205 million by 2033.
And the CGR?
It reflects the highest EGR in the region at nearly 9.75%. 9.749%.
Seems that way. A lot of dynamism spread across the continent, even if the headline figures for the biggest countries aren't explosive.
Really interesting pattern. Okay, let's wrap up the regional tour. South America, Middle East, and Africa. Still seeing growth there. Yes, definitely positive trends, though the market sizes are smaller overall. South America is projected to rise from about $175 million in 2021 to over $320 million by 2033.
Okay, and the growth rate?
The TGR for South America is about 5.2%. Brazil is noted as the largest contributor.
Figures for Brazil?
Brazil grows from nearly $76 million to almost $132 million by 2033. That's a 4.7% CAGR.
And other key countries in South America?
Let's see. Argentina, $28.5 million to over $53 million, 5.4% CAGR. Colombia more than doubles from $24 million to over $51 million, so that's a 6.5% CAGR. Peru also more than doubles, $12 million to $25 million, 6.1% CAGR. In Chile, nearly $17 million to just over $30 million, 5.1% CAGR.
Okay, so growth across the board there too. What about the Middle East?
Middle East expansion looks solid, increasing from around $137 million in 2021 to nearly $279 million in 2033. The CGR there is over 6.1%.
Any standouts?
Qatar gets highlighted, high CGR of nearly 7.9%, though it's starting from a smaller base, $8.5 million going to nearly $21 million.
And the larger players,
Yep.
Saudi Arabia, Turkey.
Yep. Saudi Arabia from almost $55 million to over $105 million, 5.6% CAGR. Turkey, more than doubling from $26 million to nearly $57 million. That's a 6.6% CAGR. UAE also more than doubles, $19 million to over $38 million, 6% CAGR. And Egypt, $17.5 million to nearly $33 million, about 5.3% CAGR.
Got it. And finally, Africa.
Africa's outlook is positive, too, projected to grow from nearly $76 million in 2021 to over $168 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of over 6.4%.
Key countries there.
Nigeria also grows $22 million to over $43 million, about 5.3% CAGR.
In the rest of Africa.
Similar to Europe, the rest of Africa category shows healthy growth, a CAGR of over 7%, going from about $21.5 million to over $51 million by 2033.
So it really is a global story, a consistent pattern of growth, maybe at different speeds, but everywhere.
Pretty much. If you step back, this whole detailed picture, region by region, it shows this remarkably steady, significant growth for the Stibium target market. It all seems to tie back to those drivers we talked about earlier.
Right. The tech advances, the increasing industrial demand.
Exactly. And just expanding into more markets globally, those factors seem to be consistently pushing things forward.
Yeah, this deep dive really highlights how even markets that seem, niche or hidden away are part of this bigger global economic engine. Quiet but substantial expansion happening everywhere.
Finding those aha moments, like we said, seeing how these specialized components, like Stibium targets, fit into the huge picture of global tech and industry.
Absolutely. Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener.
Given this robust growth, clearly driven by these technological advances and increasing industrial applications, what might some of those specific, maybe emerging uses for Stibium target actually be?
Yeah. How could they shape future industries or even, aspects of our daily lives in ways we maybe haven't even considered yet? Something to think about. Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your source material and, well, boil it down into clear, actionable knowledge. Today, we're plunging into a material you might not have heard much about, Stibium targets, but it's quietly fueling some really big innovations all around us, our insights. They're coming from a pretty compelling overview by Cognitive Market Research. They really dig into the dynamics of these niche emerging markets. So our mission here is to unpack what's driving its growth, the hurdles it's facing, and where this whole market is actually headed. Okay, let's get into it.
Right. Stibium targets. Yeah, they might sound a bit obscure, but they are absolutely critical, especially in high-tech areas like semiconductors, solar panels, and various thin film technologies. It's definitely a technically nuanced sector, no doubt about it, but the impact is just so far-reaching. What's really fascinating, I think, is how something so specific, so niche, can have such broad implications for the tech we use every single day.
That's a great point to start from. So, okay, let's talk about that positive momentum first. What's actually pushing this market forward? What are the drivers?
Well, the core driver is really the increasing use in advanced applications. Just think about the huge demand for advanced electronics, optoelectronics, things dealing with light and electricity, like displays and definitely solar cells. High-purity antimony targets, Stibium is just the old Latin name for antimony. They're gaining massive traction, especially in what are called sputtering processes.
Okay, sputtering processes. Can you unpack that a little? What does that mean for someone not familiar with the term?
Yeah, sure. Sputtering is basically a vacuum deposition technique. You bombard a target material like our Stibium target with energized particles. This knocks atoms off the target, and then those atoms deposit as a super thin, really precise layer onto something else, a substrate. It's how you get those incredibly precise material layers that are just critical for, cutting-edge devices, microchips, high-efficiency solar cells, that kind of thing.
Ah, okay. So it's about building things up layer by layer, almost atom by atom. Got it. That makes sense. What else is driving the market?
Another big factor is the technological advancement in the deposition techniques themselves. We're seeing innovations in methods like magnetron sputtering and PVD, that's physical vapor deposition.
PVD, right.
Yeah, it's a whole range of vacuum methods for thin films. These advances are making antimony-based coatings, well, frankly, more accessible and more efficient to produce. And that's especially important for high-performance optical and conductive layers. The stuff in touch screens, optical sensors. They're everywhere.
Right, so the technology to use the Stibium is getting better too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess the overall expansion of electronics and solar energy must play a massive role.
Precisely. I mean, we're seeing huge growth, especially in the Asia-Pacific region. It's just a global manufacturing powerhouse. And the demand keeps going up for stibium targets in other areas, too, like thermoelectric materials.
Well, electric.
Yeah, they convert heat directly into electricity, think waste heat recovery, things like that. And also transparent conductive films, essential for touchscreens, smart windows, and again, solar cells. These are really foundational materials.
It's actually amazing. So if you're holding a smartphone or maybe you have solar panels on your roof, you're likely benefiting directly from this hidden technology. But like any fast-growing area, it can't all be smooth sailing. This market faces some pretty big hurdles, right? What are the main roadblocks?
You're absolutely right. It's that classic innovation challenge. Um, One of the primary restraints is simply the high cost of high purity antimony. The refining process needed to get it pure enough for these advanced applications. It's just very expensive.
So that high cost, does it mean innovation gets stuck with the big players who can afford it? Or does it maybe push people to find cheaper ways to do it?
Well, it's kind of both, actually. The expense definitely discourages smaller manufacturers, yeah.
Yeah.
It limits adoption in areas where cost is really critical, so that's a barrier. But you're right, it also fuels a lot of R&D within those bigger players to find more cost-effective methods or even to look for alternative materials altogether. That could be disruptive down the line. It's a constant tension.
Interesting dynamic. And beyond cost, I imagine there are environmental rules, health regulations.
Absolutely, that's a big one. Antimony and its compounds, well, they can be toxic. So compliance with really strict handling and disposal standards isn't optional, and that naturally drives up operational costs for anyone making or using these targets.
Okay.
And that complexity, it can limit broader use, particularly in regions with very tight regulations. It just adds another layer of difficulty.
And you mentioned supply chains earlier. The source material talks about volatile supply.
Yeah.
Is antimony itself hard to come by? Is it rare?
It is relatively rare, yes, and that makes the whole supply chain quite vulnerable. Disruptions can come from mining policies changing, geopolitical tensions flaring up, even environmental issues affecting mining. When the supply of a key raw material like that is shaky, it can seriously impact market stability. Prices can swing wildly. You might even get shortages. It's a bit of a tightrope.
Okay, so high demand means high cost, tricky regulations, and a shaky supply chain. It really highlights how innovation here isn't just discovery. It's also about navigating these really practical, tough barriers. Right, let's shift gears then. Let's look forward. What are some of the emerging trends? Despite all these challenges, where's the innovation really happening?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting again. We're seeing a lot more investment going into R&D for next-generation semiconductors. Researchers are actively exploring new stibium-based compounds, not just for making current tech a bit better, but for completely new kinds of applications.
What sort of breakthroughs are they actually aiming for? Are we talking like reimagining tech completely or just making things smaller, faster?
It's often both, and sometimes really radical reimagining. Think about flexible electronics, devices you could bend or roll up.
Wow.
Or thermoelectric generators, harvesting waste heat for power, new ways to be energy efficient. And yeah, continued miniaturization of devices too. Stibium compounds are showing real promise here, opening up, well, a whole new world of possibilities beyond traditional electronics.
That really could change how we interact with tech. What other trends are shaping things?
Another powerful trend is the shift towards sustainable manufacturing. It's a big push globally. Companies are trying hard to adopt cleaner, safer methods for producing stibium targets, trying to meet those green standards. The goal is minimizing the environmental footprint, without sacrificing performance, and that's a serious engineering challenge in itself.
Yeah, that's crucial, especially dealing with materials that have toxicity concerns. And finally, the report really flags the rapid growth in Asia-Pacific.
Yes, it's really becoming the epicenter. Countries like China, Japan, South Korea, they're leading the charge. They're making huge investments in electronics and photovoltaic manufacturing. Their rapid development just makes Asia-Pacific the dominant force right now, and likely the main driver of future demand for these stibium targets. That strategic global positioning is definitely a key trend.
This deep dive into stibium targets, it really shows how a material that seems so niche, so specific, can actually be right at the heart of these huge technological shifts. We've covered the drivers pushing it forward, the big challenges holding it back, and some really exciting trends shaping its future. It really balances innovation with responsibility and global strategy.
Absolutely. And if you kind of step back and look at the bigger picture, the whole story of Stibium Targets, it's like a microcosm of modern industry, isn't it? You've got innovation driven hard by demand, but it's always being tempered by cost, by regulation, and ultimately it's shaped by these complex global dynamics and increasingly that push for sustainability. And, it raises a really interesting question for you, the listener. How many other materials like thing are out there? Crucial, maybe totally unseen materials, quietly enabling a technology we depend on every single day. And are they facing similar kinds of battles
Yeah, sure.
between innovation, cost, and the stability of global supply? It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
It really is. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious and stay ahead.